Welcome, welcome everyone. It's time for CCL. I'm your host, Katie Bedford, joined by my wonderful co-host, Cruisin', to get into some great college COD. Some of these guys, Cruisin', have spring break right around the corner. So do you think, are their heads in the game?
I mean, they might be. They might just have their heads ready to party today, though, as well. Because, I mean, it's been a few different weeks. You got some teams kind of coming off spring break, some teams going on to spring break, and then obviously we take our 2 weeks in the next 2 weeks after this week for our spring break as well, our little bit of time off. So, I mean, they might be with their heads in the game, but they might also just be having their heads ready up, and they might just be wanting to party after this week.
Well, we'll have to see. And I mean, one of these teams, maybe they're going to be popping those bottles right after this match. Louisiana Tech University and Ohio State University are going to be going head to head here in just a couple minutes. And Cruisin', we took a look. This match, a little more important for Louisiana Tech than it is for the Buckeyes. Why is that?
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, Louisiana Tech, they're coming in. They're in 9th place right now, so they're not inside that top 8 at the moment inside of the Midwest Tier 1 division. So, I mean, they really want to make that top 8. If you make the top 8, you're guaranteed your chance inside of playoffs. If you're not, though, you got to go through those plans to make that 64-team playoff bracket. So, you know, they're in a rough spot right now, but, I mean, this is definitely the time where they want to turn their season around.
All right, let's take a look at that head-to-head. And, I mean, you said it right. So the score line's looking relatively reasonable. 10-4 out of LA Tech. You've got 11-3 out of the Buckeyes. But the breakdown here in the game modes is where things start to shine a bit of a light, right? The Buckeyes, I mean, look at that. You got the better hardpoint record. Their control really is kind of questionable. But despite this, I kind of lean toward the Buckeyes just based on what we've seen out of LA Tech through the last couple of series.
Yeah, it's rough, right? Because when you look at both these teams, I mean, it looks fairly similar. Both teams have had fairly similar seasons up to this point where they've taken on top teams, haven't really been able to kind of take the fight to the top teams, and have kind of just beat everybody else that they've gone up against. But when you really look over this, I'm kind of there with you. I mean, LA Tech has relied a lot on hardpoint to win a lot of their series, so to see that your opponent is a little bit better than you in hardpoint might be a scary thing coming into this one, because I don't think it's going to be as easy for LA Tech to come in and just take these hardpoints and run away with just taking the respawns in this series. You're going to need to find a way to win search and destroy, and it's going to be a tough job against the Buckeyes.
Now let's take a look at our home team, Louisiana Tech. You're going to notice the roster is a bit different from what you've seen previously. And this is really the storyline that we want to break down right now, Cruisin', because we have Reese coming in as the substitution, making it into the starting lineup. Seasoned is out, and this is going to be his debut in what we've already explained is a pretty pivotal match for them if they want to start making their way into playoffs. So, Cruisin', when you look at this, what are kind of the risk factors here? What is at play with Reese coming in?
I mean, it's kind of a crazy point of the season to make a split, a change. You're already in stage 2. You've already had kind of an established roster, but they came into stage 2. They had a very rough start to stage 2. They got 3-0'd by Akron. You lost in a round 11 to Illinois State. So maybe this is the change that they need. Maybe this is the change that they think they need so that they can kind of improve to that next level, so they can go up against those top teams and actually take the fight to them. And you know what? We haven't seen anything from Reese yet this season. This might just be the change they need, because Season did have a very rough week last week in the first week of stage 2.
And who knows, maybe if you are Buckeyes, as we can take a look at their lineup, you can start to see, hey, there are going to be unknown factors there, and those can work for or against you, right? Because yes, you're not going to maybe know Reese's playstyle or what to expect from him, especially in game modes like Search and Destroy, but you can also say maybe LA Tech won't have the cohesiveness that they had previously with Season. But let's take a look at Buckeye, Round, Audi Vintage, and Packin'. They're going to try and take this home, and with the slightly better record here for them, do you think they're going to bring the energy to try and lock this down, get those playoffs as a check mark in their book? Or is there a chance that they're going to be a bit lackadaisical because they're not in as tough of a position as Louisiana Tech?
I mean, they definitely need to, though. They might not be in as tough of a position as Louisiana Tech, but they definitely are in a spot where they're not comfortable right now. They're only sitting in 7th place with a 2-3 record inside of stage 2 right now. So Buckeye, realistically right now, this is still a game where you need to come out and you need to win. You're going up against a team that is not currently inside the top 8. You don't want to be losing to those teams, especially right now. You lose to one of those teams, it's just giving them an opportunity to come up and take your spot within the top 8. So Buckeyes, this is just as much of an important game for these guys to come out, win this match, and be able to go into the next couple of series and into spring break with some positives going into the second stage.
Well, we'll see if they can get those positives. Let's take a look at the maps, where we're going to be going in the guaranteed first 3 maps, and what'll happen if we can hit 4 and 5. It starts off with a Berlin hardpoint, back-to-back Tuscans. Actually, excuse me, back-to-back-to-back Tuscans. That's really all we're going to see. And then a Bocage if we can get to map 5. So, Cruzen, when you look at the Berlin, I know that before we went live, you were talking about how important it's going to be for LA Tech to strike first in the hard points. So, do you think it starts here? Is Berlin map number 1 a linchpin for them to be able to take the series?
I mean, it could be. I think that it is very important for them to come in and get a win in that map number 1. I mean, obviously it is COD, it is day to day, so they could realistically come out, they could surprise us, win a couple of these other maps. But I'm right there. I do still think that this map number 1 is going to be very important for LA Tech. If they can come out, they can win map 1. They can kind of start off the series in a way where they're going to come out and feel a lot more confident going into their weaker game modes. That's probably the way that they come out and they take the series. But if you go into map 1, you get absolutely smoked here by Buckeyes. I think you're going to be in a rough spot going into games 2 and 3.
Well, in game 2, let's talk about that search and destroy. So Reese, we've talked, maybe they won't have cohesiveness, perhaps, but they will also have that unknown factor on their side. If you're LA Tech, maybe Buckeyes aren't going to be familiar with how he plays or what he likes to do in and around the map, especially on a map like Tuscan. But we were taking a look, Cruzen, and it seems like for the S&Ds that LA Tech is winning, it's more so reliant on Hold Troll popping off than it really is on the entire team playing well.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, when you're looking at overall, when Hold Troll is playing well and he's playing to like the next level, like not even like an average game for him, when he's playing to like that next level, that's when you're seeing this team kind of pop off and win search and destroys. But when he is not dropping, at least I'd say at least 9 kills, when he's not dropping at least 9 and they're playing off the backs of him leading the leaderboard, that's when this team is not winning games. And so you really need Hold Troll to come out, play his absolute best today here against another team like the Buckeyes. Because I think for both these teams, this is probably like your biggest test of the season. You're going up against another team that is almost like right there with you in terms of skill level. So if you can come out and you can take this game, this is like really your big chance to kind of solidify yourself in that top 8.
Well, we talk about that top 8, but you said, right, that these teams, yes, they're about middle of the pack-esque, but they're also struggling to beat those better teams, to really be taking it to them. So has either team been able to put more of a dent in those top tier teams, even though they're not necessarily beating them?
So the only 2 teams that both teams have kind of gone up against, it was SIUE, and both teams got 3-0 by them, so not really in that match. But against Akron, actually, Louisiana Tech, they got 3-0'd. Ohio State, though, on the other hand, they came out, they only lost in a round 11. So, I mean, that one's really, really close there for them. And I mean, I guess LA Tech as well, they did go up against Illinois State, who is another team who is kind of up in that kind of upper echelon within this division, and they also lost around 11 there. So I think the big thing for both these teams is they just can't close out series, and they can't close out maps against these top teams. So if they can find a way to do that, that's when you'll start to see these teams taking that big next step.
Well, and that's huge, right? Closing out a series, and in particular, closing out maps. If you're a team that is consistently finding yourself losing, single digits in hard points, or going to those round 5s in control, or going to the round 11s in something like search and destroy, these are the maps you'd think, right? These are the matchups where you can shore up some of those difficulties. So if we see something like that out of the Buckeyes, if they're losing maps here against Louisiana Tech in such a close contest, are you going to be worried for them?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the biggest problem with this Buckeye roster right now. And it's one thing that me and you actually highlighted a lot in the virtual green room before we came into this, is that we need this team to come out and kind of be a little bit more icy today, because they just have had no ice throughout this season. I mean, their first matchups, or their first loss against Miami, they lost one game, the game 1 by 2 points. They lost map 2 by round 11. You got to think if they go into that match, they win those 2 maps. It's a very different series. They very easily could have won that. And then even against Akron, they go to Akron, they go all the way to game 5. You lose game 5, round 11 against Akron after taking both hard points. You win that last round. I mean, this team is at that point 11-1. They're probably 4-1 inside of this division, inside of this stage, and they're in a very different spot. So if they can start to win some of these closer games, that's when this team will hit that like next level where they can really start to kind of take the fight to the bigger teams.
And it's going to start, again, as we said, they're on that Berlin. And what is it, when you look at the hard points, Cruzen, how do you feel about Berlin for these opening matchups? Do you like that as a starting point for these teams? Do you prefer to see them starting hard points on another map?
I do like Berlin, because Berlin kind of gives you like a good kind of it gives you a good kind of hint on how both teams are going to play hardpoint. It's one of those maps where you absolutely need to make sure rotations are on lock. You can't really rely on breaks, because breaks into hills 2, 3, and 1 are really, really tough to be able to get. You can kind of escape with hills 4 and 5 to be able to kind of make it a little bit scrappier, be able to break inside those hills from the front or from the sides. But those other 3 hills, if you're not early rotating and setting up, you're going to be in a really rough spot. So I think it'll be a good kind of statement game to show us where both these two teams are sitting with each other.
Well, when we look at kind of the breakdowns of their records, right? So it does seem like it leans in Buckeye's favor, but then you get to that control and they're almost dead even in their record at 4-3, whereas you have much more of an edge at 6-3 for Louisiana Tech. But you also have to consider who are the teams they are getting that record against versus who are the teams Buckeyes getting that against. So they're going to be going up on a map like Tuscan. Do you think for LA Tech, it's really going to be about those maps 1 and 3 as opposed to the search and destroy?
Yeah, I do. I like, and I know LA Tech's got an okay search and destroy record. Is nothing great. I just think that the Buckeyes, the way that they've lost a lot of their S&Ds have been very close games, very close round 11s, whereas LA Tech has lost a lot of their searches with like a much wider variety of losses. They're like 6-1, 6-2s. So I think if you go all the way down there and you're looking at, and we're really getting nitty gritty with the stats right now, I think that Buckeyes probably are the favorite inside search and destroy. Now, that's not saying LA Tech might come out and it might look fantastic on Tuscan and be able to do something, but when you're really looking at these two teams and you're looking at that, I think it really comes down to whether or not the Buckeyes are going to come out and play their game in search and destroy. If they come out and they play their game, I think they'll be fine. But if they come out and they just start having LA Tech run over them, that's when things are going to get like really, really rough for this roster.
And that's something I've talked a lot with Andy about, as well as what you just said, right? Playing your game. And I think that's so pivotal, right? You don't want to be reacting consistently to what the other team is doing. You don't want to really be playing to their strengths so much as playing to your strengths. And that's where Reese can come into effect, right? We've already mentioned Hold Troll. So when they're winning searches, he tends to be popping off. But if Reese can be that X factor for them, if he can take some of the load off of Hold Troll and make it more of kind of a team effort in those search and destroys, that might give them a striking chance as well. If they can surprise in the search and steal one away cruising, suddenly we're going to maybe be getting to something like a Bocage. And as we know, when it's Bocage, pretty much anything can happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything can happen. If we get all the way to that game 5, I mean, your first 4 maps in this series, everybody's going to be looking at it. You're going to be feeling comfortable. I mean, Tuscan for me in this series, I know we haven't cast together at all, but I really look at Tuscan like a raid from last year, where every team goes into raid and you're feeling very comfortable on that map mode combination, depending on whatever you're going to. So you're going to feel comfortable through the mid maps of this series. Berlin is another map where it's kind of a niche map. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. But that Bocage, everybody is kind of on like him and Han about Bocage. It's a good map, but it also is one of those maps where you're not wrong at all. Chaos really can ensue when you've got 2 players on both teams just running all over the place. The bomb is supposed to be moving to the outside soon as well, so that should be an interesting change once that happens. But for now, that bomb is still inside that A site. It's inside the grandma's building, and trying to break inside that building is so tough. So unless your SMGs are on absolute point, it's going to be really, really tough to do so. I mean, I don't know. Just looking overall at this whole thing, it's just looking like it's going to be a really crazy series between these two teams, though.
But just think, we could have gotten a Desert Siege search and destroy, and then who knows? It wouldn't be fun for them, but Chris, we were saying we like it. And chat, I'd love to hear from you guys. Do you like watching Desert Siege search and destroy? Because I like it. So whenever it pops up, it's not in this series, but one can hope. It's always good to watch.
I mean, I'm not going to lie. I did not like Desert Siege at all when this game first came out. I was not a fan. I was like, yo, get me off this map. And then every damn game I play on ranked play, all I get is Desert Siege search. So I've started to grow on it because I'm just that's all I win is like we go into it. Me and my friends, we go through, we win the game. So I mean, can't hate the map that much when you're winning it constantly, right? So. And I think teams are starting to learn to play it a little bit more and more. You get those outside bomb sites towards the train and towards the university. So, I mean, it's definitely a very niche map as well. You either really like it or you really hate it. It's kind of like Miami from last year. A lot of people, you had some teams that like really loved that map. I really loved that map. That was probably my favorite S&D map from last year. Yeah, it really was. Okay. But a lot of people really hated that map. They did not like my opinion on that. So, I mean, it's definitely one of those maps where you like it, it's going to be a good time for you. If you don't like it, you're going to really struggle not having a great time on that.
Look, I liked the fact that on Miami, you couldn't see anything. That was
It was just so
fun, you know?
different.
It's great. Someone could be right in front of you, but you have no idea. Search and I mean, Desert Siege in the same way. It's a large map for search and destroy. It's not quite so visually cluttered, but I love it because it sets up these snipe factors that you can have from these teams. And if you're someone who's really popping off and feeling yourself, you can shut down lanes consistently. Now, that can happen, of course, on pretty much any other map. Tuscan on that top lane, you can have great snipes as well. But for something like Buckeye, it's just tough because you're not going to see quite as much of that. It's not really a favored map when it comes to search and destroy, but it is chaotic, and if you're someone who likes to see that run and gun crazy playstyle cruising, then I mean maybe Bocage is more for you.
I think all me and you are really hoping for today is that we see some nasty snipes out of these guys inside of Search and Destroy. I think it's the big thing that everybody wants to see. That's why we're also happy once that GA came through and snipers were no longer on that list, because everybody just wants to see crazy snipe plays come through. You want to get hyped up watching your favorite player pop off, find a two-piece, switch to the pistol, find a third. Everybody remembers the simp back from Black Ops 3 or Black Ops 4, I should say. It was a great time.
How could we not?
Right? Exactly, right? Like those are pivotal moments inside of Search and Destroy history. So to not have snipers last year was a real shame. So I think that's all we're really hoping for. You get some nice snipe clips coming into this game. You get some nice plays out of these two teams, and then hopefully we have a good game. But if we go to that Buckeye, I mean, there are some spots where we might be able to see a sniper on that map as well.
I would love it. We'll see if it ends up happening. We're just waiting for everyone to get into the lobby, guys. So we appreciate your patience very much. We're going to go to a quick break, but when we get back, stay tuned. We're going to have Louisiana Tech versus the Buckeyes. Cruz, Louisiana Tech, Buckeyes. And we're starting on Berlin Hardpoint. We said LA Tech, this is where you need to strike first. You got playoff hopes on the line. And, well, if you can start with a map 1 win, it gets you that much closer.
Absolutely does. You will get the closer spawns here for Buckeyes right off the start here. So LA Tech not in the greatest spot, but everybody just trying to kind of break in through this bottom side of the map. They do get a few kills off the rip, but Vintage inside the hill pops for 2, and this should start to lead to early time now going the way of Buckeyes.
And that time, it's going to be big, right? Reese, this is his debut with LA Tech, recently moved up from the squad, takes the place of Seasoned, who will be moving back down to their academy roster, and unfortunately enters in with, I think, almost being the first blood, if not close to it. But the map is still young. A lot more to be played here on Berlin. And, well, LA Tech, they're able to strike back here on the first hill, give themselves a marginal edge, but Buckeyes so are keeping it within about 6 as we rotate to new, and they will have the opening set up, and the initial break, a push through middle from LA Tech, gets cut off by the knees. Packin with a nice 2-piece.
It was looking like a good setup originally here, but Sampy was able to sneak in through the top and actually finds a 5th in a row inside the hill. But it's just going to kind of delay the inevitable right now. You've got Buckeyes, you've got the full setup that you want, but actually coming in from the side is the rest of the LA Tech players. So they break in once again from the front side of the hill. That's 2 hills in a row now, where through the mid portions of the hill, they're able to break in, find their way in. And you've still got Buckeyes actually spawning up on the exact side you want them to. So if LA can hold on to the remainder of this time and keep on these spawns, they might be able to build this score lead up just a little bit for themselves here.
And Packin's having a great start. So is Sampy on either side. 6-4 out of Packin, 6-3 from Sampy, and really a contest back and forth over P2. And Buckeyes able to stabilize after that initial break from LA Tech. But now the rotation comes in. You have Audi all on his own, or rather Round all on his own. Will pay the price here on P3. And now LA Tech, this seems like the best setup they're going to have as we get into P3 and see if they can start this hold. You're going to have a push from Packin and the rest of the team toward the bottom of the map, but maybe Audi, if he can come up from the top map and get some key kills here, he can open this up for them. But if he takes too long, unfortunately, well, he'll get the spawns, but Holtrol getting 2 pieces on LA Tech and pushing him out of the spawn.
It's kind of a curse, though, to be spawning in the back here sometimes, especially when you have LA Tech set up in and around the hill the way that you do right now, because you're just kind of running into fire at the moment. You have to push through these small choke points, and you can see it's exactly working out how you want it to. For LA Tech in this situation, you can just keep dropping these players as they push in through the windows. You will finally get some time here for the Buckeyes, but so far, Katie, through this game, it has been a very scrappy one so far. No team really getting a good hold, even with early rotations through either of these hills. You will finally get a little bit of a lead here for LA Tech, but still spotted in the back is the Buckeyes. So largely, we're focusing on our rotation over towards P4 right now. And looking at it at the moment, LA Tech, they're doing a much better job going towards these money hills, really setting up and trying to hold down for a good amount of time.
That's a big kill, though, by Packin. Holtroll was on a 5 spree, just one shy of starting to work on streaks, but Packin with the kill. But LA Tech, as you've said it, yes, they didn't strike first on P1, but it feels like through the majority of the hard points that we've seen, they're either breaking or contesting and then consistently taking the lead with that scrap time at the end. And now you string that together with 2 hills where they're able to strike first, and that lead is growing ever closer to 100 to 50, potentially a ×2 lead here for LA Tech if they can hold on. But Buckeyes Vintage with a nice double, doing what they can to break onto the hill. But with those spawns for LA Tech, it is so difficult to push them out despite the kills that Buckeyes are getting. And now maybe this is the moment they're looking for. But again, Will with the fast respawn and going into the scrap time, Buckeyes did what they could. But I mean, how do you even contest that when the spawns are that close?
Yeah, it's really tough, right? Like, because they can just keep spawning up in the back. You have to keep pushing into that hill, and it is just not a great spot that you want to be in. I love this overextension from LA Tech as well. They realize, like, hey, you know what? We might get trapped in the back here. So they make the overextension through the top side of the map. Now they can flip out. Now they can pinch all the Buckeye players inside and around this hill. And it is just falling worse and worse right now for these Buckeye players. It's only Packin anywhere left near this hill. He falls as well, and that is a perfect break from the LA Tech players from the top side of the map. You break inside, you spawn out the Buckeyes. Now you look to build this lead up more and more. And we said they need to come out hot, Katie. We said they need to win this map #1. Well, I mean, they're off to a great start here.
They are off to a fantastic start. The entire team playing very well. And I love how you said that, right? Buckeyes in the prior hill, we saw them continuing to funnel just through 1 point of entry. And LA Tech, well, they were able to collapse and pinch on to this point really as a cohesive unit. So far, when I look at them and we say, is Reese going to be able to synergize with the team? He's having a bit of a slow game right now at 7 and 12, but they do seem to be coordinating very effectively. So we'll see how that continues to play throughout the rest of the map. But Buckeyes able to get the scrap time, chunk off some of the damage and the lead that LA Tech has created. They tie that in to a first strike on the new hill, and Packin with some nice kills retains it as they look to close that deficit. Now 10 seconds away from getting over that 100 mark, and Packin himself 20 and 12. But you have to ask then, Cruz, the rest of the team needs to step up and help him.
Yeah, is anybody going to actually show up for the rest of the series here for the Buckeyes? I mean, Packin's here, like you alluded to, but everybody else not really playing super well right now for this Buckeye roster. He's the only one positive on the roster right now, and double positive he is at the moment. But you know what? This is probably their best hold that we've seen from them throughout this game so far. This is exactly what they need to bring themselves back in this game. They came into this hill down 50 seconds, but if they can hold on to the remainder of this time, we'll be at virtually a tie game heading in towards our second hill once again, and that gunfight there should do it. It should lock down the scrap time here for Vintage. I say that, but then he challenges another gunfight and he'll end up falling for the scrap time. So can't really guarantee anything here in the CCL, but that's 20 seconds now going to the way of LA Tech. And now we look at our rotation back over towards our second hill, and it's once again going to be LA Tech 15 here set up early.
And I like this. Reese has been on this point for so long, waiting to set up, and he's just keeping those ratty corners, doing what he could to keep pressure. He will finally fall to round, but it gives his team the time, especially Holtroll with the double, Will following up, to at least be contesting this hill and keeping things scrappy and even able to stabilize and widen out that lead. A great play out of Reese, and now Holtroll, potential for him to get on another streak if he can get the hills, but once again, no surprise, it's Packin cutting him short. But Reese flying in now on 3.
Packin's doing what he can right now to help this roster, but still nobody else on the Buckeyes really showing up right now here for Ohio State. It's not been the easiest game. And when you're looking at this next hill, this is a good hill for LA Tech in the last set of rotations. They got the full setup that they wanted. They got the spawn out exactly when they wanted to as well. And this alluded to 40 seconds of time. Well, when you look over at this new hill, once again, we go towards the fire building. And again, it's going to be LA Tech set up early here. They have exactly what they want. And the Buckeyes, again, are going to have to filter through small little choke points. And this is going to be a very hard hill to break.
Audi, once again, trying to make that push through the top of the map, gets cut off before he can make much of an impact. And now you have the rest of Buckeyes trying to funnel through the bottom of the map and make a play happen, all the while LA Tech soaking up so much time. What they managed to reduce down to 20 seconds, blown right back open. LA Tech in a very real world might be able to get themselves past the 200-point mark, but Buckeyes onto the point now, trying to make it work. Holtroll, though, now on another spree, sitting at 4, could very well get streaks here, and I'm worried, Cruz. If Holtroll gets streaks, does Buckeyes have a chance to come back?
I feel like you don't. If you give up streaks here throughout the middle of this rotation, this is probably where the game gets chalked at this point. But even still, you're going to be, what, 30 seconds away from closing this game out if you're LA Tech, even if you don't get these streaks. So right now, if you're the Buckeyes, this needs to be a full 60 hold. You need a full answer back here to bring yourself back into this game, to bring yourself back into contention for the win. But they are just losing all the gunfights in and around this hill. That's a 3-for-1 trade. You still got the spawns in the back, but you might just get spawn trapped back here at this moment.
Well, yeah, whatever is happening right now to Buckeyes, they are not having a good time, and that does get Hold Troll to 6 kills before he falls. And what's more, you have Reese right on that hill immediately. Let's take a note, guys. Reese was 7-12 at one point, now 16-17 with pushing 2 minutes of hill time for LA Tech. That's the coordination that we're talking about now. But Buckeyes, if you're going to have a comeback, well, it needed to start a little bit before this, but getting the time on the hill going to be crucial. Hold Troll, though, trying to play spoiler, cutting down anyone getting even close to it, despite the fact that Buckeyes have the spawns. Hold Troll, well, he's not having too much. He's having a lot of fun, but Buckeyes, I don't think having too much fun with him cutting them down at pretty much every window and every pass. Now on another 4 spree at 32-18.
Yeah, he's having a whole game for himself right now, that's for sure. Hold Troll playing very, very well right now. And I like that you keep bringing up Reese as well, because Reese is having a very good game for this LA Tech roster. And just the fact that, you know what, you're going positive, yes, but also he's got almost 2 minutes in the hill. Like, that is a big job for your OBJ player to not only be able to stay positive on the map, but also get a good amount of time like you're seeing right now. So doing a very good job for this roster. You do right now, though, for the Buckeyes, I hate to play devil's advocate right now, but they've got LA Tech spawning exactly where they want them. They've got 30 seconds left on this hill, so you only need to contest for a few more seconds before this game isn't winnable anymore for LA Tech. And you still have those spawns on the left-hand side. It is pivotal that they hold on to these spawns and win the rotation back to P1.
Well, they're going to have to take a look out. Sampy is now behind them. You've had LA Tech break through their defenses onto the hill with 10 seconds of scrap time left. And we'll see how long Sampy can stay alive. Able to get one on a 3 spree, cut down in the back, but the damage might already be done. Now you're only 13 seconds away from closing out this map. And Buckeyes, they hold on. They have the initial opening, but for how much longer? We haven't seen that streak come out just yet. But LA Tech, they're playing like they don't even need it. This is going to be that final stand for Buckeyes, but as the kill feed starts to light up Blue Crews, this is looking dangerous. The break comes in. Will with another kill. Sampy right behind him now, just 5 seconds away. And Buckeyes, can they even get to the hill on time? They'll have to funnel through one opening, and unfortunately, not even chance to make a strike and contest. That will be LA Tech Esports striking first. We said you got to get it done in map number 1 here, and that's exactly what they did. And Crews, they looked really good in the process.
Yeah, they did. They looked really good. I think the roster change coming in has honestly helped this team out a lot. They look a lot more kind of fluent in hardpoint than what we've seen in kind of weeks past. And this is probably the one game mode that I was a little bit more worried about them coming into right now as well. With kind of a roster change, it's a little bit harder to plug and play inside a hardpoint than I think inside a search and destroy and control sometimes, especially because you do have him, Reese running that objective role. So I'd imagine he's going to be the player carrying the bomb as well inside a search and destroy. So if he can keep this up, I mean, this is looking like a very different LA Tech roster than what we've seen in weeks before.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe it's all Reese breathing fresh air into the team. We know sometimes even a one-player change can make all the difference, both in the mentality of the roster, how they play, how they fit in with each other coordination-wise on the map. And again, I have to compliment. I mean, you go from 7-12, you're almost double negative, to being able to go positive, all that objective time, as you pointed out, while you are enabling the rest of the team to make their plays around the map. And let's take a look at how those stats played out at the end of it. Reese, 22-20, everyone on the team positive except for Will, but over a minute of hill time for 3 out of the 4 players for LA Tech. You look at Buckeyes, and that is not the same. Just one person over a minute of hill time in Audi.
Yeah, definitely not the same. And I think one other thing I want to look at when you're looking at this Buckeye roster and you're looking at like what happened throughout that game, we were really highlighting Pac-In through a lot of that game for this roster. He was playing very well, but let's not remember, he was double positive through the first set of rotations. He was like 20-10. He finished that game only +4 inside of that game. So he had a really rough second half of the game, along with Vintage actually stepping it up. He was negative through a lot of that game. He brought it back. He started to give his team some help, but unfortunately Pac-In started to fall off. So I think you need a more well-rounded effort from this Buckeyes team. It can't just be that one player popping off constantly. If you want your team to be able to win, you need to make sure you're playing as a full collective unit, especially in this Stage 2 competition when you're going up against Tier 1 schools. You need to make sure you're bringing your A game as a roster.
And this is where that A game can come in. Yes, you got outgunned, you got outslayed, but now you're into a very different game mode. It's time for Search and Destroy on Tuscan. This is where you can rely on playing your game. You are the team that has practiced together more. You should be more comfortable going into this map. You should be able to use and abuse the fact that Reese is not going to have that same synergy with LA Tech. Play to your strengths and be able to close this out, because as we said too, both of these teams, neither with necessarily an enormous advantage, which is why I'm worried if a team goes up 2-0, it's going to be extremely difficult for someone to try and complete a reverse sweep.
Especially with the Buckeyes and how their ice has kind of been throughout this season, because it has not been very good, right? Like they've gone into a lot of these games, they've been very close matches, and they just generally tend to be the team that doesn't come out on top. So when you're looking at this matchup against LA Tech, you're looking at that S&D. I think that this now, like you're alluding to, I think this really does become a must-win map for the Buckeyes. I don't think you can go down 2-0 to this LA Tech team, especially because LA Tech do look like they might be a little bit better of a control team. I know it is very close between those 2 3s and 5s for both these teams, but if they come out and they win that map, I mean, I wasn't fully expecting LA Tech to come out and win map 1. So if they can come out and they can take map 2 as well, I mean, who knows going into the back half of the series.
Puzzle pieces certainly falling in place. LA Tech doing what they need to do by opening it up with, I would say, a comfortable map 1, especially at 250 to about 180 or so. I mean, they just looked like they had control of the pacing of the hills through the entirety of that map. They really never gave Buckeyes much of a chance to make a rally as well, which I think speaks well to their momentum throughout the entirety of that Berlin. And as you said, if they can carry that into the Search and Destroy and make it a 2-0, when the Buckeyes struggle to close out maps, struggle to have that it factor, that ice, as we've been talking about, I mean, you'd have to see something that maybe you haven't even seen out of them yet for them to be able to create a reverse sweep. Start it when you're at a 4-3 record on control to the 6-3 out of LA Tech. So I agree. I think now this becomes a situation for them where when you come out on this Tuscan Search and Destroy, you need to make it count. You need to be able to strike early and maybe, again, use the fact that Reese is not going to be quite as comfortable with the team to your advantage.
Yeah, it's absolutely what they need to do. They need to really make them uncomfortable on this map. You need to try to pick out any small little thing that you can with how Reese is going to come into this not being at like kind of 100% with this roster, because like you said, he hasn't been practicing with them throughout this whole season. This is his first matchup inside of CCL, inside of the varsity league throughout this season. So you really need to make sure you step it up here. But it's going to be a tough job. Buckeyes are a good Search and Destroy team. They've lost a lot of their S&Ds very, very close. So I think a big thing for this Buckeyes team, you need to come out, you need to hit early, and you need to hit often if you want to be able to take this map off LA Tech.
Yeah, and it's really that map dominance. Are you going to be willing to be the team that is aggressive, that takes control of mid-map? And are you going to have the coordinated nades off spawn? Do you have those game plans for the mid-round adjustments, the middle and beginning of a map? Do you know how you want to play it? I think the team really, that coordination, especially here in CCL, can really make the difference. And as we said, LA Tech, when they win these searches, it tends to rely on Hold Troll popping off. So we'll see if that's the case here. But Buckeyes, maybe definitely some things they can pick apart, but well, Hold Troll, we said, is he going to pop off? And he starts with a nice first blood on a vintage.
Absolutely love to see that. And Reese was absolutely correct. He will be that bomb carrier, but packing through middle of the map will find that trade. So it's going to make it a 3v3. Now you're kind of trapped here. If you're LA Tech, you need to find a way to get out of this. And they are just running straight into the gunfire of the Buckeye players, and they need to find a way to pick this bomb up.
They need to get that bomb. They know it's going to be down on the bomb site. Having Reese as that new addition, as the objective player again within this map, going to give them the time for the remaining 3 players to play around him. But now a 2v2, and you've only got about 35 seconds left. You're going to run out of time to make a play very quickly. You have given Packin uncontested control of the middle of the map, and that's what I was just talking about. Who is going to take up that positioning and lock it down? How do you make a play onto this A bomb site? And unfortunately for LA Tech, You need to go right now. You are giving Buckeyes all the time in the world to know and expect that push. And that's exactly what happens. Packin gets one, he gets two, he gets, well, pretty much everyone. And that's why you had to be a little bit more decisive, I think, if you're LA Tech. Packin given way too much leeway to give himself an ace, 4-0 to start round one.
Yeah, LA Tech, they put themselves in the perfect spot to be able to shut that push down, right? Like you had Packin in that bomb watching spot in middle of the map where you could just check it. If they slide in, he will be in the spot to be able to drop that player. But like the even better spot was you had the other player over towards the B site. So if they went there, they had all the information in the world. They had both bomb sites watched. And as long as he had his player on B and didn't see anybody going there, he just knew, hey, I can get this bomb down absolutely for free. And look at this start here. You talked about mid-map control in the last round. Well, Buckeyes just absolutely stormed middle map. They took all the control away from LA Tech. This bomb goes down for free, and now Reese already in a 1 versus 3.
And Reese, well, they're going to know where he is as those trades come in, and look at that round just tucked into the corner right underneath him. They have the bomb down. They have played this hyper aggression to perfection. And well, Reese, you're in essentially an impossible situation. If I'm him, I don't even push this because Packin is at 5-0. He is very close to getting those streaks, and it's early enough. Yeah, I agree. You don't make this push. You don't try and make this diffuse. The worst case situation here is that they win this round, which they already will, and you give up the kill. So Reese, at least some good discipline to just wait and watch, see if he can get a kill for himself. But that is not going to be the case. Actually able to take out round there as the very beginning, or at the very end as he pushes out. But I mean, that's a tough position, and I think they just were not expecting Buckeyes to run over them the way they did.
No, I don't think they were expecting them to storm middle of the map like that. That was just a really, really solid push out of the Buckeyes to be able to come through, grab that positioning away. But also a very heads-up play, like you said at the end there, for Reese to just not push that, not feed those streaks to Packin, who's on 5 in a row. It doesn't take a genius to be able to see that inside of the kill feed, to be able to see that he's playing very, very well at this moment in time. So we'll just have to see what they can do through the back half of this game. It looks like the bomb again going to head over towards the safe site, and they've done a much better job of taking mid-map control through this round.
Sampy, some really tough timing there. Looks away to his right as Packin crosses over, not able to detect him. Will able to pick up a kill onto round, strike for the first blood, but you have to be ever careful of Packin. And well, Will with a nice nade to the face, make it 2 for him, denies the streaks and gives LA Tech the space that they need to be able to take this map. Will with 3. We could see 2 aces already in this game if he can find Audi here at top church, and he's not able to. Audi strikes back. Will taken out, but now 40 seconds here. The bomb plant going down at A. They will be able to lock that down, and now a reverse situation here for Audi. We saw it out of Reese for LA Tech prior, but Audi, you're gonna have to make a miracle happen here if you want to 1v3 this, technically 1v4, and be able to get that defuse. But makes it into the back. The initial shots come in, but can he do it, Cruz? This is gonna be tough.
It's tough. I mean, you have already given up your position here. You are just basically stuck and just trying to find any little bit of information you can at the moment. And unfortunately, you lost those streaks as well onto Packin through this round. So, I mean, if you're Audi here, there's no real harm in trying to take a gunfight at the moment. Nobody really in kind of line for streaks for LA Tech at the moment, but he's just probably just trying to get a couple kills here for himself. And yeah, you were never going to win that round. As soon as they found your positioning there in a 1 versus 3, it's just impossible at that point. You basically need to find a kill, get away with your life, and then also just find another 2 and then get the bomb defuse. It's very hard to get in 45 seconds of time there. So he did a good job finding the first. Unfortunately, wasn't able to get anything more, and LA Tech able to take their first round on the board here. Now in their last round on offense, the Buckeyes, they just completely stormed the middle of the map. They took all the positioning away from LA Tech. I'm very interested to see how LA Tech respond to that this round, how they try to fight it, because once again, full mid-map control instantly going to the way of the Buckeyes and the bomb going down.
And they fly into it. They are so decisive on these offenses. They've already pushed into church. You have 2 members of LA Tech split down toward that B bomb site. If they decide to do a long flank, they could make something happen here. But again, I want to see decisiveness out of them, and that's what we get. Reese, the first blood vintage immediately with a trade here around mid-map, and you're gonna have to be careful if you're vintage, as Reese makes it 2, takes out round. 20 seconds left on the bomb. Packin able to get his 6th kill, but Holtroll with the trade. Now a 2v1. Vintage, all you have to do is take a look over that bomb site. We'll go to top church, try and get 1. He'll be able to get 1. Can he get the 2nd? Yes, he does. And well, it actually doesn't matter if he dies because, well, You only got about 7 seconds, and you can't defuse on that.
Yeah, was able to get the perfect kill, gets the player watching over the bomb, and what that does is it allows you to just get away and not allow that bomb to go down, because either the player has to jump off, take the gunfight, and beat you, or stick on the bomb and fall anyway. So it's just a round win there. And Vintage, he does exactly what he needs to at the end, but one thing we need to watch out for, new kid on the block, 4 in a row now for Reese here. We were asking, like, hey, somebody needs to step up to the plate, help out Whole Troll inside some of these search and destroys. There's a very good round out of him in that last round, even though they don't win the round. He's able to at least get some streaks going towards his way. Not sure how I feel about him being the first man in the middle of the map here, though.
This is very aggressive. I mean, they might trying to emulate what we saw out of Buckeyes, and unfortunately, not working out well for them. Vintage strikes with the first blood. Sampy, though, another trade. Audi taking out Sampy with the double now, creating a lot of space in mid-map as we said this, but unfortunately, Vintage really kind of double trades on either side, and now a 2v2 as Reese with the bomb pushing toward that B bomb site play. It's the first one we've seen so far, and they're looking to get the bomb down, maybe trying to see if they can flush out some players. They don't commit to the first plant, but again, you're on that bomb site. You have to make this play because Buckeyes are going to figure out this is where you are sooner rather than later, and they will now with the bomb down.
Yeah, Vintage couldn't catch a timing there to see if they were going to get this bomb down, and they actually get it down, and they both get away as well towards the backside, so they can watch this from the offensive team spawn, or sorry, from the defensive team spawn, and you can see Vintage and Round. They're just going to group up together and try to hit this from the front.
And a 1-for-1, the trades we've seen the entire time, Sampy and Vintage. And, well, Reese comes out on top, able to get that nice positioning to take out the 1v1. And LA Tech slowly starting to strike back. And Reese, 5-1. As you said, starting to come alive. Give Whole Troll the assistance he needs. And keeping it within 1 and denying streaks, I think, could potentially pay huge dividends for them from what we saw out of that round 3.
It could be. It really could be. And if you're the Buckeyes, you can't let them back into this game. With how we've seen this team and how we've seen this roster in the past, they need to just get off to a big lead and close the game out. If the games get down to the nitty-gritty, that's when we're seeing the Buckeyes lose a lot of these search and destroy maps. So they need to try to close this one out quickly as possible here. They'll instantly storm middle of the map again, get full control, try to get this bomb down. Actually, it looks like Round double thought about it for a second there, but they will get the bomb down and a 1v4 now, and they shut down streaks. Those kills are huge, Katie.
This is exactly what you said. This entire round is huge. Give Buckeyes the space they need. You don't want them to be put in that ice situation. Whole Troll able to get one, snaps to his right, but not fast enough. Buckeyes make it 4-2, 2 rounds away from evening up the map count after a rough start in that Berlin hard point. And give yourselves the distance. If you make things a 5-2, you don't have to worry about that pressure of maybe making the misplay, whether you're on that offense or defense. And really, I've loved what I've seen out of Buckeyes so far on all of their offenses. They've been doing a great job.
Yeah, they just completely storm middle of the map. They take all the control away from LA Tech. And if you're LA Tech, I think you need to start just doing something to answer that back. Maybe hit 3 players through the command center side of the map. Just do something a little bit different so you're not just dying through the middle of the map right off the start of every single round. And speaking of mid-map control, LA Tech, they're going to pull a page out of the Buckeyes book, take middle map control, and this should be able to open up the A site to get this bomb down now.
And they get that. What is interesting, though, is they get that first blood mid-map, but they don't plant the bomb after the fact. Maybe they just want to make sure 50% of the team is dead first. But, well, you've given Vintage his 3rd kill, working towards some potential streaks. And finally, LA Tech working to plant that bomb. A little slower than we would have liked, but now we have a double push out of Buckeyes into the flank. Well, if you don't check left, this could potentially be a 2-piece for Sampy. He'll be able to get one and won't find the second, as Packin pushes away onto the bomb site mid-map, but you are in a 1v3 and you don't have all the time in the world. Able to get one, goes for the defuse, pulls off the bomb, gets shot in the back, and LA Tech will be able to bring it once again within 1.
He was trying to debate the defuse and unfortunately just guessed the second gunfight incorrectly at the end there. And of course, it's Reese again, picking up this final fight. He's done a great job so far, honestly, as the new player on this roster, filling in, especially in Search and Destroy, a very hard mode to fill in for early on in a brand new team. Going 6-2, best KD on the team right now, already has 3 bomb plants as well. I mean, he's doing a good job. He's not doing anything wrong here for this roster. But the big thing for LA Tech is, can they win a defense? Can they stop this mid-map push that we've seen from the Buckeyes so many times throughout this game? That's
going to be key, right? If you can just get this to an even round count, that'll be huge. Packin strikes first, trying to get the kill, not able to connect, but the bomb does go down, trades in the middle of the map, and a gunfight showdown here in Church. Sampy trying to get some information, able to connect with the tac flies around the corner. Can he get it with the pistol? Yes, Sampy with 2. Scurries away to safety. 30 seconds on that bomb. A 3v2 here for Buckeyes. All they have to do, though, is hold on. Watch the bomb. Just deny the time. And, well, even better if you shoot someone in the back. Make it 1, make it 2. Audie, from a 3v2 to a 3v0. Buckeyes, they are able to push it to match point. That was a beautiful regain.
Oh, LA Tech did everything right in that round, though. They had everything that they needed to win that round, to close it out. Vintage wasn't in a great spot originally to watch that bomb. Things were looking so good. They had the man advantage, and unfortunately, nobody checks that bottom left corner ever, it feels like. And there's always somebody down there. And unfortunately for the LA Tech players, Buckeyes were just completely ready for it. Audie was sitting in that small corner, shoots 2 of them in the back. They find the third one pretty easy and close the round out. And that could be the final nail in the coffin here for the Buckeyes.
The Buckeyes now on defense. This is probably one of the fastest plants we've seen out of LA Tech. If they can get this bomb down and get to safety, was exactly what Hull Troll's able to do. That's going to be huge, but immediate trades. Make it a 3-3, but look at Vintage all the way in the back. But Sampy spots him out, is able to get the kill alongside Will. A 2v2, with Brown going for the defuse, gets tagged up, forced to back off. Audie able to get 1. Now a 2v1. Sampy, this is for their round lives. Able to get 1, snaps onto the second, but there's enough time to defuse, and Buckeyes will close it out 6-3. I like this. They didn't give LA Tech the chance to really make a huge comeback. They were able to get within 1, but nothing more than that.
Yeah, wow. I mean, I really thought that, there were a couple of times there where LA Tech could have won a couple of those rounds, but the Buckeyes iced up, Katie. They actually they iced up a few of those rounds. They won a couple situations where you didn't think, like, hey, this is not a good spot for them. 2v3s, 3v2s. They're able to close out those rounds. Not things that you're normally expecting to see from this Buckeyes roster. So it's good to see them come through, be able to win up a search and destroy, tie the series up, because we said going into this, kind of a must-win map. You don't want to see them go down there inside of the search and destroy. You don't want to see them go down 0-2 to this LA Tech roster going into control, which seems to be a little bit stronger of a mode for LA Tech. So this is a good map win for the Buckeyes. Could guarantee themselves another hard point, where that is statistically their best mode on the year. And hopefully if they go to that Tuscan hard point, they can kind of try to even out the series for themselves there as well.
Let's take a look at our stats now, see how all these players managed to make it work on the map. Reese going 7-4, doing big things for his team. Unfortunately, just not able to close it out here. When you look at the Buckeyes, what stands out? I mean, Round going 2-7 had the worst KD stat line, perhaps, but still, I mean, their team able to come out on top effectively. Why is that?
Well, I mean, Round's job was not to get kills in that game, though. His job was to let his team fly middle of the map, get the mid-map control, and his job was only to get that bomb down. You can see 4 bomb plants, and that was all they did every single round. They got mid-map, he got that bomb down, and you know what? Unfortunately, a few times he got that bomb down and just fell immediately after. But what doing that does is it put the rest of his team in a great spot to watch over him, watch the bomb after, and to get those post-plant setups to win those rounds out. And that's a lot of the times exactly what happened and why the Buckeyes were able to come away with the game win there.
And their cohesion, really, those mid-map plays, LA Tech really didn't seem like they had an answer for them, right? They were so decisive, and it felt like in later rounds, LA Tech sort of started to pick up on that for their offenses, but I think it took too long for them to identify what was working so effectively for the Buckeyes when they were on offense.
Yeah, it really did. I mean, search and destroy, it's all about moves and counter moves, right? So you need to make sure you're making those mid-round adjustments, and you just did not see that out of LA Tech throughout that game. They really struggled to kind of find an answer to that mid-map push from the Buckeyes, how fast they push through middle of the map. We all know the offense gets theirs quicker. We all know that they do that. But LA Tech, I think you need to go back to the drawing board when it comes to Tuscan search and destroy, try to figure out a way to stop that bomb push from going down like that. Because if other teams go back and they watch this, they could absolutely abuse that in future matches against the LA Tech as well.
We'll have to see if they pick it up in those VODs. We're going to go to a quick break now. We're guaranteed a map 4. It's all tied up, guys. 1-1 LA Tech and Buckeyes. We'll see you right after the break. We are back with a series that might just go the distance. I'm your host, Katie Bedford, joined by my incredible co-host, Cruisin'. And, well, we said it. Louisiana Tech, they needed to start things off with a hard point win. They did just that comfortably. And, well, the Buckeyes, they answered back in a 6-2 victory in that Tuscan search and destroy. We're all tied up now, Cruz.
Yeah, all tied up. And I think the big thing going into this one was we were like, oh, is LA Tech going to win that first hard point? Are they going to be able to do it? Is Buckeyes going to be able to win the S&D? Well, the answer to both was yes. They both come out. They win the maps that they need to win to kind of extend this series a little bit longer here. We got the control coming up next. And honestly, I really don't know which way this series is going to go right now, Katie.
I know. I mean, we were kind of leaning when we were initially talking, Reese's new substitute into the LA Tech roster. Are they going to be able to synergize? It seemed like just based on paper and kind of intangibles that the Buckeyes might have an advantage here. But the series has felt very even so far, whereas the hard point, Louisiana Tech ran that essentially from start to finish. And then you get into what we saw out of Buckeyes in that Tuscan Search and Destroy, and they looked to be so comfortably in control throughout the entirety of map number 2. I agree. I mean, it's closer than I thought it might be, and now you move on to that Tuscan control, and this is where anything can happen. If you're putting a team in a position where they're going to need to win 2 maps in a row, that's a lot of pressure on their shoulders. But as we've said, right, the Buckeyes tend to fall short in that pressure more so than Louisiana Tech.
Yeah, from what we've seen so far this season, it does feel like the Buckeyes, if they kind of fall back in a series, it's harder for them to bounce back towards the later half of the series. So with the Buckeyes, it kind of does come to another point where, like, hey, we need to win this map. We don't want to have to go to a spot where our backs are up against the wall, or we need to come out. We need to win back-to-back maps. But honestly, Katie, looking at these maps and kind of how that map 1 was dominated by LA Tech and how the Buckeyes dominated map number 2, this kind of feels like a really big swing map on this series. Like, if you win the control and you get another mode into your favor, like that hard point could go back to LA Tech's favor. The S&D could go back to the Buckeyes again. So this control could end up being who ends up winning the series.
I agree with that. And you look at it, so we saw from Buckeyes, they're very comfortable taking that hyper-aggressive mid-map control. But when it came to the slaying map, they kind of got smoked by LA Tech. So you look at Tuscan, this is where we just saw them have success if you're the Buckeyes in a search and destroy. Can they couple that aggression into winning this respawn?
I think it comes down to their initial breakoffs, right? Like, if you can get another initial breakoff on your offenses on this map the same way you did on search and destroy, I think you're in a great spot if you're the Buckeyes. I mean, you just push middle of the map, kill everything in sight, and that A site should come pretty easy. But I think, as we all know, that B site is just so difficult to break, right? So that's going to be the question. Can either of these teams take an offense? Can they break into that B site? Can they find success into finding any ticks of progression over towards that site? Only time will tell. We are into the map now, and it's going to be LA Tech, first team here on offense, and instantly a 4-man stack, and already the first tick of progression through day.
The first tick of progression, the first and second bloods. Will trying to get the third as well, and well, it'll be Reese with a double.
Wow.
Will follows it up, and well, that's the whole team picked apart, and A secured without really any downtime. 2:15 now for them to push toward B, and they've got a 4-kill lead.
Yeah, that is about as good as you could ask for that first zone to be able to be completed. Now everybody going to try to make their way through this connector building, trying to make their way in towards B, but it's going to get shut down. The Buckeyes, as soon as they all fell off the initial portion of that game, everybody just kind of said, hey, you know what, screw it, let's push across, let's all get set up here at the new hill, and let's make the life really tough on these LA Tech players to break into this next zone.
Well, they made it tough on that first push, but certainly not on this second. They fly onto the point already. A 2-stack working on that first tick. Holtrel trying to stop any pushes through the middle of the map. And well, the rest of them, team named, your team, kill the other team. Maybe it won't even matter. But a half a tick into the second. Sampy able to get one of the side of the fountain, but nothing more than that. Vintage with a nice 2-piece. Reese will trade it out, but that team kill might have cost them that second tick.
I do think it did cost them that second tick. That would have been an extra player on the zone, extra player kind of helping out to get that zone progression going up a little bit quicker, and unfortunately not able to close it out. But the kills all from the front. LA Tech break right back in. They already get the 3-stack on the site, and now this zone is going up very, very quickly. You got one shot at breaking this here, Buckeye.
Well, Vintage, he was able to get a double to stop it last time, and he does it again this time. Can he make the play? But no, it's Will with 3, Sampy to back him up, and that is about as fast of an attacking round on Tuscan as you're ever going to see.
Katie, we asked for a very good and aggressive team to come out from this LA Tech team. We said they needed to bring the aggression to the Buckeyes like what we saw in map number 1. Well, they absolutely do there. And Will, I mean, I know we didn't really get a chance to touch on this coming into this one because we kind of brought the whole kind of point in the series going into, hey, Reese is the new guy on the block. Old Troll's been very good in S&D, but Will is generally the lead slayer on this roster when it comes to just playing inside of Respawn, and to see him start to pop off here again, good to see. But that mid-map pressure, once again from the Buckeyes off the start of the round, they will find that opening kill, and it looks like they're going to try to split this push over to B.
Well, Reese has found him out. The call will come in that there's one player from Buckeyes around their spawn just trying to hide and be a nuisance. Packet able to take Reese off of that B point, but Ultra doing what he can to delay the push here at A, delay them getting too much time. Clock stopped at just over a minute. But Packet, well, he's everywhere at once with a triple on a 4 spree cut down by Will. And you have to ask the question, though, Will, he gets that trade, and that's important. But now Buckeyes, they're on both points. They're collecting all the time in the world. Reese trying to do what he can, but I mean, Will, what happens if he's able to get that opening kill, plays it a little more safely, maybe has a streak to use to stop this push?
Yeah, he might just be able to stop that here, but unfortunately not. But good news for the Buckeyes at the very least. You do get a tick of progress over towards B, and this should be the A zone done, and he completely finished off here throughout the rest of this, and it absolutely is. But if you're LA Tech, I like that they chalk this. Now you just kind of spread everybody across the map, but you got to hold for 2 minutes, and you're already at a 2-life disadvantage. Definitely not impossible, but it's going to be a very tough spot to be, and you get a lot of opportunity for breaks here if you're the Buckeyes.
And, well, that's a break right through Church. All 3 kills going the Buckeyes' way. Now it's just Sampy runs out of bullets, will only be able to get 1, and now the Buckeyes flooding just as LA Tech did in round number 1. That first tick so crucial, and Audi on a 4 spree, looking to get himself streaks, and well, he might be able to do just that here as he pushes into the back line, gets 1 more. Looking for a final kill for that streak, but backs off, plays it smart, just trying to secure themselves the second tick. Does just that, back around to cause a little bit of mayhem in the LA Tech spawn. Can he get the kill? He can! It's Will with a team nade again, but Holtroll with the double. Will with sort of a double, and well, saves them for just the time being, but 11-16 in the lives. LA Tech is running out of lives to use.
Right now, if you're the Buckeyes, I mean, there's 1:15 left. You could realistically just try to play team deathmatch at this point. Just try to keep finding kills, try to keep slaying these players out. And if you're the LA Tech roster, you need to try to even these numbers out right now for yourself. You can't go down any further, but they've done a great job. Another clean wipe, and now it's only a 2-life lead here. So completely answered back by LA Tech, and now they're trying to get some map control as well.
Well, Holtroll not happy with the push Buckeyes made into their spawn, trying to cause them the same level of pain, sitting in and around the middle of the map, just trying to get eyes on players funneling in. And now just 39 seconds left here, 9-8. LA Tech with the first life lead that they've seen maybe in the entirety of the round. Buckeyes, this could very well be the last push that they have. If they don't succeed here, they're going to be running out of lives very quick. But just like that, 8-8, 25 seconds left on the clock.
It looks like they want to try to hit this through the Church side of the map as well. 1 player will go down, so this is not the greatest spot to try to push through. And they're just going to push through with only 2 players left here. Another player falls, so just a very staggered push out of the Buckeyes here. And only 10 seconds left here inside of this round. Down 2 lives, only round inside and around this hill at the moment. He needs a touch to try to stop this clock and give the rest of his team a chance to get in.
And great positioning here out of Will and Sampy to create that push. And Will with the triple, Sampy with 1 to close it down. LA Tech, that's an offense and a defense for them. Buckeyes, I mean, it just looked like that final push from them, not as coordinated as it should have been.
No, not at all. I mean, I feel like the better way to have pushed that probably would have been going through the Church, pushing in and around the backside, trying to get that last player out of the back and then breaking through the backside. But they all just pushing through the ramp from the side door of Church. And it's just a choke point at that point. You're just running down in the wide open while you've got players stuck on headies for the LA Tech roster. It's a very tough spot to be in to try to break. And I mean, if LA Tech can duplicate this offense to anything near what we saw from their last offense, I mean, this game could very well be a 3-0 here, Katie.
It could, and I gotta say, Will and Holtroll had some great opening duo nades here. Holtroll with 3 now, and Lord. The 5th for Will on a 5 streak, and the rest of his team all fast on sprees as well. Look at that once again, finally. A point secured in about the same amount of time it took him on the first offense. Will knows a player has to be nearby, will be able to get 1 in the back and gives himself streaks. They are running away with this offense, already a 8-life lead.
I mean, if you told me that LA Tech were going to come into this and bully the Buckeyes in the respawn the way that we're seeing it right now, I would not have believed you, Katie. I absolutely would not have. But this has been absolutely bullying of these first 2 offensive rounds for LA Tech. You do get a little bit of a stabilization here if you're the Buckeyes. You do at least get a team wipe. You can start to spawn them out, but you've got a big job to do. You're down 6 kills. You've got full streaks on the side of LA Tech, and you need to hold off for still 2 minutes, and they only need 2 ticks of progression. This is going to be a very tough round to win it for the Buckeyes.
This is actually a huge 3 kills that Round just got. He denies Hold Troll, who was on a 5 spree. He was able to get a number of kills in and around that kind of bottom side of the map to be able to stop any push from LA Tech. But as you said, you're still down by 5 lives. Make it 6, and there's a lot of time left on this clock. Sampy with a nice double to give him potentially that opening. But Buckeyes keeping it scrappy, doing what they can to just trickle this push, force LA Tech to not have that full squad getting onto the point, but maybe it doesn't even matter. Sampy trying to do it all on 4 before he gets traded out. Will calls in that first streak, and that would have been a big moment for LA Tech if they could get that second tick, but Buckeyes push him back to just 1. Now a little over a minute left on the clock.
I don't know how I feel about that streak either. I mean, I feel like it was a little preemptive. You didn't really have anybody on LA Tech around the hill to be able to follow that streak up. So yeah, you get 1 with it, but nobody able to break inside the hill. I guess it might open up and give you the information for where the other players are set up and around, and it actually allows for a 2-piece here now, really just kind of up to the rest of the Buckeye players in and around this hill to shut the rest of this push down. But you are still up 7 lives for LA Tech here. Realistically, you just need to try to close this round out in terms of kills, and you can still put this one away.
You have Round just doing such a great job of being a nuisance in this same area for LA Tech, picking up kills where he can, has eyes on 1. If he wins this, that'll be a big moment. He does exactly that. Now 9 and 17, and just stopping any sort of stabilization out of LA Tech. And well, as you said it, yeah, LA Tech can TDM this, but they have 18 seconds left. This is going to be your last push. They have to fly. And well, Will, he needs to stop killing his teammates because it's not helping anyone. But Reese with a double, cut down by Audi. You have 7 seconds left. Will trying to be the hero, able to get 3, but packing with the double. And now 5 seconds left. Sampy, the only one close enough to get onto the hill. He's going to have to do some heroics if he wants to give his team the time to get back onto the point. And they fall short. And I just have to ask, there's some questionable plays happening here out of Will.
Yeah, I mean, if this was league play, Will would absolutely be kicked out of the game already for team killing. But unfortunately, it's not league. Sorry, fortunately, it's not league play, so he'll still be able to stay and play the rest of this map out for his roster here. But yeah, some questionable plays for sure. I mean, from a couple team nades coming through, that just happens though, right? Like that's just unfortunate timing, some unfortunate miscommunication. But shots in the back, definitely not something you want to see. And also, I really just did not like that streak usage. I feel like for the Buckeyes in that round, that's a big round win. You not only get away with the round win, but also get that streak out of the pocket of the LA Tech players. So now you can push forward, you can try to get this, and you can see it's the exact same game plan as in the last round. Push through middle of the map, try to get our way over towards B as quickly as possible, and start to stack over at the site.
I couldn't agree more. That's just a huge momentum boost for Buckeyes to be able to finally get on the board. Sometimes that's all you need. Vintage, a nice kill here. Down and around B, we'll have to deal with Sampy, figure out exactly where he is. Won't get the chance as Will's nade comes through. There you go. Hey, we're figuring it out. Maybe it just takes the 4th round to get there, and trades back and forth as that first tick onto B, looking to come in and get stabilized. But Buckeyes, well, about an even 24-23 in terms of lives. And Audi, wow, what great timing. I thought he was about to get shot in the side, but Will doesn't notice him. Audi traded out mid-map, but Buckeyes full control here at A.
Yeah, and you can see their full game plan now with 50 seconds left. They're like, hey, you know what? We really can't afford to throw any more life, so way to be at the moment. Let's just get this A zone, get it completely finished off here, and then we'll make our way over towards B. A is secured. They've got a 4-life lead. You've got a minute 45 to deal with here. You only need 2 ticks of progression over at B, but those are the hardest 2 ticks to get in this game.
They're the hardest 2 ticks, and well, Buckeyes, I mean, they have enough time to be able to do it, but you're going to have to deal with the fact that Will's in your face. Hold Troll is flying through the middle of that map. So Round, maybe some potential for him to cause some consternation, push them back, and give the rest of his team the opening to get onto that point. But, well, Sampy picking him off as well down there. I love this position that he's in. Just this little nook at the bottom of the map to cut off any sneaky plays. Hold Troll follows it up with another double. I feel like every time we look at him on this map, Cruz, he's getting a double.
It really does feel like that, right? Like every time you see Hold Troll or Will finding a few kills. It feels like it's more than one. We'll see at the end how many non-traded both players have, because it's got to be a good amount for this LA Tech roster. And once again, they're doing it again here, Katie. They are completely shutting down any pushes from the Buckeyes, keeping them at bay, not allowing them to get anywhere near this hill. A minute already shaved off the clock from what we've seen before, and that life lead is absolutely dissipated at this point. And now the Buckeyes, you basically have, what, maybe 1-2 more shots at trying to break inside this hill, but you need to find a wipe at some point here. They absolutely do. This is their best chance of being able to close this game out now.
And, well, you find that wipe. You got the 2-stack. You're finally able to get that second ticket. Look how fast it's flying. You don't even have a chance to try and attempt a contest.
Wow.
You said they needed the wipe. They get it. They capitalize on it. They push us to round 5. LA Tech, the first 2 rounds looking so dominant, and it just seems like that misplay in round 3 could very well cost them this entire map.
Katie, you can't go up 2-0 in control and lose the game. You just can't let it happen. And you've let the Buckeyes right back into it. The positive, though, for LA Tech right now is you get the defense here in the round number 5. Offense extremely hard to win throughout this game, but we just saw it in that last round. If the Buckeyes can find a way to get one break over towards this B site and get inside and get that stack, that's how you win the round out. They were able to do it there. Who knows if they can do it again here in round number 5.
Well, and it starts with the kill feed. All Buckeyes, Vintage and Packin able to get 2. And, well, Sampy, he answers back with a double. Audi trying to get the trade, but they will get that initial B progress. That's how they started their success in the prior round. Reese, though, just trying to clear out the general area as the full push from Buckeyes will now come toward A. But you have Sampy set up and waiting for that push. And they will have a minor life lead of just 1 for LA Tech. Will trying to just lock down what he can mid-map, and he's doing a great job of it. A nice little 2-piece.
Yeah, Will trying to do what he can to push their progression forward, to try to stop the Buckeye players from being able to get any type of success onto this A side. And he's doing a great job. He's really just being annoying in and around the base of the Buckeye players. And now the Buckeyes coming off spawn here in the bottom side of the map. It basically kind of bottlenecks them to have to go towards this B site once again. They will find the kid player inside of the command center, but they're just not in a great spot. They need to clear out their base first. They need to clear out middle map before they can decide which bomb site they want to go towards, or sorry, towards which control zone they want to go to.
Yeah, and they're going to need to make a game plan, kind of try and stick with it. It looks like that game plan is a assault onto B, all 4 of them, and that's not going to be very easy. If Sampy's coming in behind you, he gets 2. Reese on the front side gets 1, and the lives are falling apart. If you are Buckeyes, now 22-13, as another wipe sends you back to spawn, but well, gives them enough time to at least stop the clock here and get that second tick into A, but there's so little time. LA Tech, if they can get a break here, if they can make something crazy happen, they can steal this away, but it does look like Buckeyes. They will be able to close out that A point, give themselves a minute and 15, but you still only have 12 lives.
Yeah, the lives are definitely not in your favor right now if you're the Buckeyes, but we saw them do this in the last round. They were down in lives, they were down in time. It took 1 break. They got a full 4-man wipe, and the second 2 ticks of progress on B went so quickly. If they can just find that opening, that's how they close this game out, but it's a lot easier said than done. Still an 8 life lead to the LA Tech players, and a lot of control still with LA Tech exactly where they want to be.
Round potential here for streaks as well. That could be huge for them to at least push LA Tech off of the point. And well, LA Tech just positioned up. Time is not on the Buckeye side. Neither are lives. Now down to just 7. And this is purely a war of attrition at this point. And Reese, hey, look, Will was taking all the glory with the team kills. Reese said, hold on. Hold on. I want to get on this team action as well. Takes out Sampy. Holtroll, though. Takes out Audi, and now just 6 respawns for the Buckeyes remaining, and this is tough. I mean, you're going to have to play perfect here, and with Reese picking off even just 1 kill causes so much pain for this team.
Oh, but they get onto the site, though. They get on, they get a 2-man stack. That's going to be the second tick of progress, and you need to try to break it now if you're LA Tech. You realistically get 1 more shot at this, and it's only Vintage around the hill here. But Vintage and Pack can get 2.
They get 2, and it's Reese, though, with the 2 and the trade to at least deny that 3rd tick. It could have been the play, but, well, now it's just Audi all on his lonesome. And, well, if he does this, he's a god. And unfortunately, no gods in COD. LA Tech will take it away in that round 3. But you have to ask the question, how did they let it get to that round 5 in the first place?
I mean, I don't really know. I feel like they were just kind of playing with their food for a little bit throughout that game. They probably could have closed that out in their second offense on that round number 3. But unfortunately, they use it and then they invest a streak and they lose the round, right? So if they don't invest a streak in that round, they can use that streak in the round after to solidify that B zone once the Buckeye players got in. They got that stack. If you have a streak in that situation, that's a completely different round. You could probably close it out in 4. So I think that's probably the biggest mistake. You weren't in a great spot to win that round. You invest a streak, and it just kind of, you lose the round, lose the streak, lose all the advantage you have, all the momentum. But fortunate for them, they did enough in the first 2 rounds to be able to get that final offense. That final defense, and they came big in that final round.
Well, and true to Buckeye's form, you came back from being down 2-0.
Oh, you didn't have to do him like that, Katie.
Make the play. I'm going to do him like that. You didn't have eyes. You couldn't get it done. You had the chance to make it happen. What we've seen, once again, you fell just shy. Now down 2-1 in this series. And look at those non-traded kills. You were talking about them during the game. I mean, LA Tech, they just ran away with it.
Yeah, we were talking about them. We said Hole Troll and Will absolutely looked like they were popping off throughout that game. I want to know how many of those non-traded kills are team kills from Will, though, because 27 in that game. You had 30 from Hole Troll.
You're telling me not to do him dirty. No, you can't call Will out like that.
Hey, Will had what, like 3 team nades, and he shot his teammate in the back.
He did not discriminate. He killed anyone who came in front of him, and if that means if you're an LA Tech member, well, maybe you should have just been positioned better.
Yeah, maybe you should just set up behind Will. Will be the front man. Nobody runs in front of Will, and then that's how we stop that problem from happening right there. But they get the job done at the end of the day, and it's exactly what we needed them to do, because they have looked, in terms of respawns and in terms of slaying, just a level ahead right now of what the Buckeyes have. So going to Tuscan next, I think that this is a really good shot for LA Tech to close out the series with just how good their hardpoint looked at map number 1, and just how good their slaying has looked in terms of just respawn in general.
And I mean, you got to talk about Audi a little bit in that control. I mean, he was over double negative. He had the least non-traded kills. It does feel like Buckeyes, for the fact that you even got it to that round 5. It's a testament for the struggle that Audi was having. And if he's playing a little bit better, maybe there's something different that can happen there. But as you said, now it's all going to come down to that next respawn. We're going to see if the hard point can close it out for LA Tech. But if they bring the same energy that they've brought in these 2 hard points, or in these 2 respawns, I mean, Buckeyes, they're going to have to come alive. You were great in the search. You almost got it done, but it's time to break the mold and actually bring it back and push it to a game 5 and then win it in that game 5.
Absolutely is. And I mean, you know what? This Ohio State team is no slouch in hardpoint. I mean, they came into today, what, a 15-2 record overall in hardpoint. That is a very good hardpoint record. So, I mean, the fact they lost at map number 1 was kind of a surprise to me. So if they can come out and they can play their own game here inside this Tuscan hardpoint, don't play to the pacing of the LA Tech roster. Play to your pace. Bring it fast. Bring it aggressive. Bring that hard-fought gameplay that we saw inside of that search and destroy. We absolutely can see that game 5. But it just comes down to whether or not they can bring it. Because inside of the respawns in this series so far, it has just been all LA Tech. You have not seen very much control and very much positivity out of these Buckeye players. And I think it kind of comes down to what you were saying. I can't remember exactly who you were pointing out, if it was Audi, but somebody who you said was having that rough.
Audi was having a really tough time.
Yeah. Audi had a very rough map in that last series. He needs to bounce back here in this map. You need a good map out of all 4 of your players. That's how you take it to the LA Tech roster.
And, well, this is where that pressure mounts up. You're fighting for your series lives. Can you extend it out to that Bocage? Can you try and make something happen? And, well, you're 1 for 1 on the Tuscan maps, at least. So can you try and give yourself that Tuscan advantage and win this hard point? You haven't won either of the respawns. And we're going to have to see if they can get it done. But, I mean, Buckeyes, this is just tough for them so far. They have not been looking particularly strong in the respawns, and I mean, it's do or die at this point. You're going to need to see, as you said, too, a very strong performance out of Audi, and who knows, maybe they could rely on some more Will team kills.
Well, what's rough too is they don't even get the good spawns right off the rip here, so LA Tech will be the first team to get inside and around this hill. But I love this heads up play from Round. Pushes all the way through their side of the map, gets the full flip. Unfortunately, they flip with the spawns, but on the positive, you get inside the hill very early on here, and good break.
And I mean, we saw them get that early hill time in Berlin, and we'll see if they can hold on to it, because it was really the rotations and the spawns that LA Tech did such a good job of initially. And well, Buckeyes, they get that nice wipe, they get onto the hill, and just like that, they get pushed right back out of it. And now Sampy fighting for his life in the bottom of the map, not able to get either Audi or Vintage, who are prepping now for P2. But look at Holtroll just patiently waiting, trying to cause some chaos in these spawns for as long as he can to allow his team the time to get here and get set up, contest, and get on the hill. And well, that kill onto Packin is a huge one for him.
Yeah, big kills in the back, but look at the Buckeyes. They're putting their full focus on trying to get these back spawns first. They will win out those gunfights on the back tank, so that should secure spawns. It absolutely does. Now it's just going to be a full foot race towards this hill. Who's going to be the first team to be able to get in? Who's going to be the first team to be able to win these gunfights out? Because you still have Buckeyes spawning a lot closer here.
Yeah, and they're able to get onto the point, but despite their spawns, and now this is what you need, Packin with the double, they're able to push LA Tech back. But despite the spawns in both of these hard points, Cruz, it seems like Buckeyes aren't really capitalizing on them the way they should be. I mean, they're still down by 2 seconds.
Yeah, well, it kind of feels like every time they rotate towards a new hill, they win the hill, but then they get broken immediately from LA Tech, or they get broken and they lose the spawns immediately. It's exactly what you want not to happen here for your roster. I mean, just look at these nades from LA Tech. That was a gross nade from Reese throwing it over the top there. He doesn't find the full kill, but he's going to get the information from that. And, I mean, I feel like this needs to be a hold here just to build some confidence for the Buckeyes.
Yes, I agree 100%. They need to have a strong hold, be able to repel the push from LA Tech. And, well, it doesn't start with Will being on a 5. Give him the streak in 6, 9, and 3. Triple positive out of Will as Sampy collapses on side up to get his first kill of the game. And just like that, LA Tech back onto the hill. You said they needed a good hold, and, well, that's not what they have so far.
Yeah, I think I might have just hit a little bit of a caster curse there, Katie. I'm not going to lie. But unfortunately, they get shut down immediately off that hill. And, I mean, Will's on 6. If you give Will 7 and a glide bomb here, I mean, he didn't use it very well inside of the last map. But if he can use it to better success here, with the lead you're already starting to see grow for these LA Tech players, things can get really out of hand very quickly here. So the Buckeyes, as much as that last hill looked like it was going to be a good setup and they need to get a good hold, this hill might even be more important. You've already let Reese sneak through the back line, and he might even be able to flip these spawns into their favor for the LA Tech roster.
This could be brutal too, and it looks like Buckeyes aren't even aware of the fact that he's back there. I mean, granted, they don't need to be because they've killed everyone else from the team, but now they need to know, because that is why he was anchored. That is why you are patient. He gets those flips, but well, I mean, you made the right play, but y'all lost your gunfights. So just like that, LA Tech is flipped back out and got to start from square one. Buckeyes, this is a great hill comeback for them.
Yeah, execution not there for LA Tech. They get the spawns, they don't get the kills though, like you were alluding to. And now everybody needs to just filter in from the front, and this is a much scrappier hill and a one-on-one for the rest of the time here. Reese will win it out, so that's going to be the back 15 going the way of LA Tech. I doubt we see anybody on the Buckeyes really try to get through, really try to contest in towards this. And actually, I'm wrong, as apparently Round's going to hit this with 10 seconds left onto the hill through middle of the map. And you know what? That's an important 10 seconds as well to keep this game a lot closer.
I agree. You have a great hill. You get broken in by LA Tech, and that scrap time, I mean, that scrap time, keeping a consistent 20-plus second lead for LA Tech is really huge for them throughout the game. So I don't hate that play to just try and secure some of that time. But, well, it does mean LA Tech, they're set up on the point, but the full assault comes in from the Buckeyes. They're able to get the initial kill traded out by Reese, makes it a 3-3, but Round with the double, give him the triple. Buckeyes there on the point, but Holtroll trying to play spoiler as Will, connecting with the right kind of nades, takes out Audi.
Round was doing his best Will impression there in that 3PC, ends up unfortunately finding one of his own as well, and that's just going to continue to give more and more control to the LA Tech roster. And Katie, I kind of want to go back to that last rotation there, because they hit with 10 seconds left on the old hill, and it was looking okay, but unfortunately when they do so, you also lose out in all the time and the rotation over towards that P5 hill, and unfortunately in doing so, you've now opened up a 50-second lead to these LA Tech players. So at some point, you need to just look at it and be like, hey, we can give up this back 10 seconds to really focus on and set up for this new hill, because you just haven't seen that too much from these Buckeye players. And when you have, that's when you're starting to see them run away with the score, start to build it up, and that's what we're seeing here on hill number 1. but they need to do that more focused, because when they're not, that's when they're losing a lot of this time.
Yeah, know when to cut your losses, make those instant decisions with the team to give up that scrap time, because as you said, forward thinking, 30 seconds, a minute down the road, is this 5-10 seconds important, or is it going to cost us that hill? And well, now as we get into the next rotation, it is all Buckeyes, and we thought their prior hold was their best yet, but this is exactly where we are seeing them shine. Now down by just 3 points, they will take the lead here. The Buckeyes, just like that, right back into it. This is the best hold we've seen from them by far.
We asked for a better game out of Audi. He's 9-8. He's still not having the greatest game right now, but he can make a big influence of spawns here. Unfortunately, drops in the back, and that should probably give leeway to LA Tech to spawn up close to this hill. And you can see the spawn now coming in for the rest of the Buckeye players. It's going to be in that bottom left-hand side of the map, so they have a pinch potential at the moment, but it's going to be very, very tough to break this.
I feel like every time we see Sampy, he's shooting someone in the back.
Yeah, he would be very annoying to play against.
And that's the thing, right? Like, yes, he's at 7 and 12, but he's getting these important kills and pushing Buckeyes players out of hold points on this hill. And I mean, then you have Round and Vintage coming back and giving LA Tech the exact same treatment. So LA not really able to capitalize on that, as Buckeyes will stabilize on the hill, try and retake the lead here. But it is so scrappy. No one with a firm foothold, and LA Tech, what one they did have, really has dissipated, as once again, Buckeyes will try and soak up the remainder of this scrap time as the rest of the team fights over this next hill. And take a look, though, at Sampy in that power position alongside Will, giving them such good angles, but Will falls. Audi able to get one, but now he's going to have to deal with Hold Troll and Sampy locking down the point.
Yeah, the score going towards this hill looking very different than the last time. This time we get a 20-second lead for the Buckeyes, but unfortunately for them, the setup looking very much the same. LA Tech was the first team here, but they're going to actually all drop and spawn out. So another great break from the Buckeyes. This is something we did not see very often inside of map number 1. We didn't see them breaking in towards a lot of these hills and winning a lot of these setups. And you are seeing it paid a full fruition right now for this Buckeye roster.
And take a look, I mean, Reese, he's 23 and 16 and able to get himself a two-piece there. Yeah, but it's not translating. I mean, now you're on the hill and you're going to need to get this time. But, I mean, even if you get this time, look at that rotation through the bottom of the map from the rest of the Buckeyes trying to work on those spawns. They're going to run into Will. He's able to get one initially, but you couldn't get the scrap time on this hill. You have to be able to secure new. And if they don't do that, I mean, Buckeyes, they're strike first. They're over that 200-point mark, and suddenly this is a very real world where this could go to that map number 5. And well, we'll see how long he can hold on. Throws out the nades, trying to connect with anyone on the front push, and no one just yet, but it's like Buckeyes just trying to time correctly this push. Will able to get one.
You're definitely not out of this game yet if you're LA Tech. I mean, you win a couple of gunfights here inside a church, and you actually get all 4. So this should give you another good 10 seconds before anybody on Buckeyes are able to get close, able to contest inside of this hill. And actually, all the gunfights are still going into the way of LA Tech. So they're bringing themselves right back into this game, only down 10 seconds now. And if they can hold on to the remainder of this time, they'll put themselves up 20 going in towards back into our P5 hill once again here. And actually, look at the map. They've already got some players set up and around the new hill.
Well, not just that, Reese and Hold Troll are individually both 1 kill away from streaks. If you get that many streaks on their side, Hold Troll cut down, so none for him. Now, Reese, are you able to secure? And yes, as the kill comes in on the Audi, at least 1 streak to try and help your team close it out here in a 3-1 victory. But Buckeyes, nothing if not scrappy, fighting tooth and nail as Hold Troll takes out his teammate in Sampy. And well, if they lose this map, if they lose this series, those team kills are really going to be the storyline as everyone fights over the remainder of this contest on this hill. And a stalemate now as Vintage in the back trying to do what he can, gets a double, but will eventually fall. Round though, able to pick up the pieces as LA Tech now just 29 seconds shy of closing it out.
Very close to closing out, but this hill is still going to be very scrappy. Neither team can win it here, but LA Tech, they're going to keep trying to get closer and closer to putting this one away, but Vintage says no. He breaks in from the front, and if you're LA Tech at this point, Buckeyes can't win here. You just need to get a full setup and get a full rotation over towards this new hill. It looks like that's what they're trying to set up to do. You just need to be able to watch out for Audi in the back.
And having something, especially like a streak on a hill that's out in the open like this, could be extremely pivotal for them. A nice kill, though, for Will in the mid-map. Round answers back, but the trade is instantly there. Now 15 seconds for LA Tech to close out this series, and it'll be a full push out of Buckeyes through the top of the map. And Round, a crucial kill in mid, but the trade's coming in, and it's Hole Troll with another double. Reese, well, takes out his teammate. I guess wants to keep the map going for a little bit longer. LA Tech trying to shut it down. Sampy with a double. Reese doing everything he can, and now a second away from being able to win 3-1 over the Buckeyes. And well, the final tick comes in, and how many team kills was that? Let's talk about the fact that despite all of that, they still win in the control. They still win in this second hardpoint. They win every single respawn, and they look good doing it. Buckeyes, though, they had a great mid-map comeback, but it just felt like they kind of ran out of steam maybe a little bit at the end.
Yeah, I mean, to your first question, had to have at least been 15 team kills throughout that entire series there for LA Tech. There was a lot of team kills there, but yeah, it just felt like the Buckeyes kind of just ran out of gas at the end there. It was looking very good. They had the big lead that they needed going in towards that Church Hill, and unfortunately, LA Tech, they just got the setup that they needed. They brought their game back into it. And if you're the Buckeyes, again, in that same Church Hill, we saw it in the first set of rotations, we saw it in the second set. They started to hit the old hill again with 15 seconds left. LA Tech could not win in that 15 seconds. Why are we hitting that? Let's set up for a command center. Let's try to get a good hold here. But they don't do that. They hit old. They don't get the break there. They allow LA Tech to get the rotation over towards new. LA Tech gets exactly the spawns they want. They build the lead up more and more. And then again, on the rotation back to the new hill, LA Tech hits old again. And then once again, you see the Buckeyes take it and lose it on the new hill. And honestly, Katie, when you're looking at that whole map, that's just the one thing that just continuously stood in front of my head there was that Ohio State, they played a great game, but if they don't hit old so consistently and they just take some of that time to set up for the new hills, cut your losses, win the new hill, they probably could have came away with that game win.
They certainly could have, and I mean, look at the eye test. Reese passing it with flying colors, the new addition for LA Tech, and they come out with a win on top of it, 32-20 with 23 non-traded kills. Shined specifically in that last map as well. Was really great throughout the entire series for LA Tech, and I mean, you got to take a look at it. Maybe we talk about how a player can just refresh a team, rejuvenate them. You get this win onto Buckeyes, which is important for you to be able to work your way into the playoffs. Reese, who knows? Maybe he turns this team into a middling team that can really start to contest with maybe some of the best teams.
Yeah, I mean, Reese played great throughout this whole series. I was very, very impressed by a lot of his play, especially inside of the search and destroy. He was the bomb carrier in that spot, and that was the map where they lost, actually, as well. But he was the bomb carrier and the most kills on the roster as well. So that's a big, big step up for this roster. Even in map number 1, where they didn't have a great, or they kind of walked away at that map, but he had a rough start to that map, a very rough start to his CCL career, if you will. And he comes into it, what was he, double negative after the first set of rotations, flipped it around, 2 minutes in the hill, they win map number 1, and you can see it here when we look back at the overall series. This is a very tight series, a very close series, but LA Tech, they just come out on top, and in typical Buckeye fashion, unfortunately, couldn't close it out in a close map.
Yeah, it couldn't close it out. That storyline will remain with them. And honestly, when I look at this, I mean, it felt like this series, some of these maps were closer, more so because of LA Tech making sloppy mistakes than Buckeyes really keeping it close. I mean, you remove all of those team nades, maybe the poor use of that streak from Will, and they win some of these. There's a very real world if he uses that streak a little more efficiently that you get a 3-0 in the control. If you don't have as many team kills, you get a cleaner win in that map number 4. So LA Tech, I think they've got a lot to work on. If they clean it up, they're going to look like a very strong team.
I'm right there with you. I 100% agree. I think Reese was a great addition to this roster. I think they look very strong with him in, especially considering this was their first match with him in as well. A good start to what could very potentially be a very good honeymoon phase with this roster for a small bit of time. It's always great when you're winning, but once you start losing, that's when things kind of get a little bit rocky. So we'll see how they go from this point on. But LA Tech, I mean, like you said, you clean up a few of those mistakes, this series probably could have been over a little bit quicker. I still don't know if they win that S&D. The Buckeyes did look really good in that map. I think their big thing coming out of this one will be, one, to kind of clean up defensive rounds on Tuscan Search and Destroy, and maybe two, to just not play with your food so much inside of the control, because that control probably should have been a 3-0.
All right, Cruz, I think you have a cast coming up on the Bravo stream. Who are you going to be casting?
Oh god, it's Colorado Boulder versus McPherson College, so it should be an interesting one for sure. All
right, chat. Well, make sure to show Cruz some love on the Bravo stream. We're gonna head to break, but when we get back, Redbirds versus Red Hawks with the incredible, amazing duo in Shift and Proper. We'll see you then.